One thing to understand about reality is that it's not as solid as it appears. It's an illusion. Quantum physics shows us this, that matter is made of energy, is made of vibrating pockets of energy in over 99.9999% space. And space is actually not empty. A void or a vacuum is actually filled with potential energy. This is how you manifest the reality that you actually want, is that you understand that reality is not as solid as it appears. This physical reality is made of vibrating energies that appear as the hologram of what you're currently living. You can change your state of consciousness, and you can change the actor that you're playing in the movie that you're currently seeing through the projector of your mind. This is what they meant. This is the red pill in the Matrix. When he wakes up, when Neo wakes up and realizes that he's living in the Matrix. The 7 Hermetic principles, study them well because they're keys to understanding reality. The first one is the principle of mentalism, which is all is mind. Not mind as in your brain. Your brain is the antenna, the receiver to the quantum field of all information. The mind, divine mind, is the recognition that all is one, consciousness experiencing itself through different perspectives. And based on what those perspectives are, gives you a unique view into the infinite. And this view into the infinite is your reality. It is your perception on reality, and it is the reality that you're able to experience because you're able to access it in the hologram. This is what it's meant when it's already done. All parallel realities already exist in the quantum field. So when you change your perception, when you change your perspective, you're able to transfer realities. As within, so without. So depending on the beliefs that you have about yourself is the reality that you're going to experience. It's the identity, it's the character that you're playing. So give yourself the kindness that you would give anyone the opportunity to become wealthy, to become healthy, to become happy, and to become free. Live the prayer of the state of consciousness of the change you want to see in the world, because your words have the power to create your reality, and your thoughts are really vibrations. So all ideas are connecting into the creative genius, intelligence. In fact, study any great mind and success, study Napoleon Hill, study a lot of different successful people will talk about the same thing, which is that all is mind. It's all about your antenna and your connection to infinite intelligence. So when you change your frequency, when you change your beliefs, when you change your identity, when you give yourself the kindness to change, like you'd give anyone, because everyone is an aspect of you in your relationship to yourself. That's a little trick, right? In unity consciousness, is you stop seeing everything as separate. So why would you not give the same kindness and compassion that you'd give to someone else to change their conditions? You would give that to yourself, and you would stop looking at things as they are and saying, this is what my world is, this is who I am, this is how it has to be. And you give yourself the kindness and the compassion and the room to change. And realize that all opportunities are available today. How your reality, how solid it is, how set in stone it is, it's an absolute illusion, right? And this illusion, this attachment to this illusion is what creates suffering, right? Attachment is the root of suffering. Gautama Buddha said this, right? And in the Vedas, they called the illusion Maya. Essentially, Maya is the illusion that causes us to become attached to this limitation, this limited third-dimensional perception of reality, of who we think we are, and we forget our connection to source and that we're infinite spiritual beings having a temporary and precious human experience. And when you start remembering who you really are, you're able to let go of this attachment that is creating this suffering and that is also creating this box that you're living in. And you realize that all the societal conditioning and everyone and anything that is trying to tell you what you're not capable of is a lie. And I guarantee you that I have experienced this firsthand, that there are forces that don't want you to awaken. And this may not be how a lot of people might relate to it, but there is a negative polarity. There is a negative polarity that is in separation, and there's a fear that feeds on a fear-based consciousness. There's a positive polarity of the light that is here for unity consciousness, right? And so when you're connected into source, you don't need to feed on the external energy, right? When you're in the negative polarity, everything's about the distractions to feed on that energy, right? But you have free will when you reclaim your sovereignty. The only way the negative polarity can get you to give your free will away is by your own free will. And even if it was by ignorance, right? This is the devil is always portrayed as the trickster, right? I'm not calling it evil, but when you're speaking to this force, that's what you're talking about, is a negative aspect of the conscious polarity, right? It's not of light, right? It's not for love. You can come from other styles where you can just ignore the fact, but to me, it exists. And all things exist in consciousness. So how do we have that shadow work, right? Of that relationship to that part of ourself? How do we free ourselves from suffering? How do we free ourselves from the matrix, right? This is what we got to be aware of, right? Is that it feeds on your attention. It feeds on distracting you. It feeds on these lower densities of vibration to give your power away, to keep you in fear and loathing and lack and limitation. And so to do the inner work of bringing these aspects of ourself into the light and transmuting those energies is the inner alchemy, right? That's the turning the lead into the gold that starts to liberate ourselves from those perceptions that are lodged inside of our emotional body, that are lodged inside of our programming that we grow up with. Because anything trying to convince you that you are just this thing, this is your life, this is how the world works, it's an illusion. You can be a free thinker. You can get out of the box. You can change your identity. You can shift your reality because it's not as solid as it appears. And when you realize that you can give yourself the kindness to make that shift, you can give yourself the space to change. You recognize the reality is not as solid as it appears. So anything is possible. It's like that movie Limitless. It's that the pill is meditation, is your own consciousness, is your own power to create, is your own mind, right? Is the power to rewire your belief systems. It's the shadow work. It's bringing it into the light. It's freeing yourself. It's liberating yourself. It's empowering yourself. It's educating yourself. It's enlightening yourself. It's realizing that you're not a victim. It's realizing that you are an empowered creator, right? And you're here for this shift in consciousness, and there's an awakening going on this planet, and that you can tap into the same infinite intelligence that all of the great people of history and the geniuses and inventors and these successful business people that people look up to. Guess what? We're all equals on the spiritual plane. We all have access to the same thing. Okay? So it's like Neo in the Matrix. Like, it's this limited reality is a belief system, and it is a program, and it's not real. Okay? So as soon as you stop believing that it's real, you can actually liberate yourself from it. And I know you know this. And anybody who's just awakening to this, it is such a powerful realization to realize that you can just wake up from this dream that you're some cog in a machine. Wake up from the dream that you're limited. Wake up from the dream of believing that you can't be what you want to be, because you can be what you want to be. You can change your reality. You can change your perception. You can actually do it right now. Because anything any spiritual teacher or any person, and I am not some guru, okay? So anything that anyone is trying to tell you about this is just a permission slip for you to be able to make the shift. But write your own permission slip. You're limitless in that way, right? And the limitations that we come into set up the game. They set up the launch pad. They create the contrast of this experience for us to be able to have those shifts. So I invite you to join this conversation, because this is where you see that possibilities are limitless. Anything can shift today. Anything can shift any day if we give ourselves that room to make that shift. And reality in and of itself is malleable. Peace.